We are recording and we are live.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, so first question, sort of what was the idea behind Hopscotch? This is always a great question to get started. Hopscotch was founded by Samantha John and Jocelyn Levitt about 3 or 4 years ago here in New York City, and they were both interested in working on a business together. Samantha was an engineer and Jocelyn was an entrepreneur, and sort of thinking through different ideas of problems that they wanted to work on. And as they were interviewing engineers to come and join the team, they kept noticing that all of the people who were referred to them as awesome engineers were men. And they were two women trying to start a business in tech and realizing that it was hard to find other female engineers to join the team, and started thinking about that. And at the same time, Jocelyn had wanted to learn how to code for a long time, and people kept telling her, oh, you have to start here, you have to start there. And there wasn't really a consensus around the best way to begin learning how to code. And then the thing that put it all together really was Jocelyn was at a Hanukkah party, and noticed that all of the girls were getting makeup sets as their Hanukkah gift, while all of the boys were getting erector kits. And so they started stringing all the pieces together and seeing that, a lot of the men who came in as engineering candidates had started programming at a very young age because they wanted to build video games. And they were given erector sets and sort of had all of these things coming together to tell them that they would make great engineers. And women were really left out of that. So they decided to build sort of a toy that they wished they had had when they were kids that would be a very good place for all people, but especially girls, to learn how to code. And that was the idea behind Hopscotch.
Excellent. No, I know a lot of things. I've looked at, trying to promote more girls coding and that for sure. I think there's even a thing going across Canada here, ladies that code, and they're going to different spots in Canada and kind of setting up shop and having workshops and that. So that's excellent. I didn't know that before. Do you guys have any questions? So one thing I noticed on the App Store now, like I know when I was, getting students to do that, they put their names in. I noticed you guys have something you can buy, like for on the iStore now to kind of help organize your class and that type of thing. Do you know what I'm talking about with that?
The School Edition app?
Yeah. Like it was like usually Hopscotch is free, but this one was like so you can organize all inside. And I guess maybe all your students and that type of thing.
Yeah, so we built a separate app in response to a lot of feedback we'd heard from educators around a few things. One, our app used to have in-app purchases, and I know that was a problem for a lot of schools, so we wanted to be able to take those out of the app, as well as create a more limited environment for teachers who wanted just to have their class engaging with each other and not the outside community. So the School Edition app is very similar to regular Hopscotch, except that you create little classes just for your students, and they can't engage with anyone outside of that. So it makes it a lot easier to see your students' work because it's all published to the community. And it makes it easier in that they're not getting lost in sort of the massive community of Hopscotch. So that's sort of the idea behind it. And we've also heard a ton from teachers we've been talking to this summer about sort of wanting to build in some of that functionality into regular Hopscotch, so that you can more easily track your students or track their progress. And that's something we're considering, some sort of analytics maybe, as we look to how to develop Hopscotch to the future, but it's probably a long ways out still.
No, that makes sense actually, because I had that problem too. So, and Hopscotch is only for on iOS devices, correct?
Yeah.
Any guys got any questions about coding or the app or? So, what do you think makes a success with with using the blocks? Like, why do you think that relates to what is it main age range from 8 to 12? That's what you say. Or you?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think there are a few things. One, they're very easy to read. When you look at a block, its name is in English, and it pretty accurately describes what it does, especially if you have basic familiarity with the coordinate plane, for example. You understand, okay, change Y. You know that means move up or down in the screen. And so a lot of what makes learning how to code so difficult is trying to decipher not only how your code should work, but also just what it should say. And as you're typing, understanding the language in which you're writing. And in Hopscotch, we've tried to really simplify that side of the equation, so the majority of your mental energy can go towards understanding the logic of your program rather than the logic of the Hopscotch language. That should be very easy to understand and shouldn't require a lot of mental overhead, because I think the idea that coding is easy is kind of a misnomer, and it's actually sort of discouraging. It's not easy. Nothing that, is super rewarding is super easy. It's hard to build something that works well the way you intend it in a reasonable amount of time. And so we want to make sure that, kids experience the joy of solving a hard problem and working through a hard problem, but we don't want them to get frustrated by things that are inconsequential. And so to that extent, the blocks help facilitate that learning. They're also easy to use. I think gestures on mobile devices are something that increasingly all kids do frequently, and they're sort of second nature to them. So the idea of moving things around with your finger is just a very intuitive, natural process, especially with kids because they're bad typers. I know you guys are teachers, so you've seen kids banging away on the keyboard. It's not a very effective way for them to do something, and it's not as intuitive or natural as swiping with their finger. And thirdly, something we've found very successful about the blocks is having them color coded. So movement blocks are red, sort of the way things look, I forget what we call them, but the way things look blocks are green. And so you can sort of develop these patterns in your brain where okay, I need to look for a certain color block based on the kind of thing I want it to do. And that also helps make it easier for kids to navigate the language of coding in Hopscotch.
Awesome. So what's, after Hopscotch, the kid gets really good at Hopscotch, is there a certain language or a certain programming code that is kind of a next step thing for them, or?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've seen and heard from kids who have been successful doing a number of different languages. I don't think there's a right answer or a wrong answer to this question. Python is widely regarded as a language that's fairly easy for beginners to start using. Swift now, or Apple rather, has Swift Playgrounds now, which is an iPad app to learn Swift and create projects in Swift. That's something that I think would be pretty cool, especially because a lot of kids who use Hopscotch start to get this sense that they want to take the games they're making in Hopscotch and publish them to the App Store or something similar. That's a long-term goal. So learning Swift is the best way to get towards being able to publish to the App Store. But it really depends on what the kid wants to make and what kind of support system they have to learn.
Oh, that's excellent. Thank you. Do you guys have any other questions? So on your support, what's your main questions people ask you guys? Is there lots of questions like, I did this program, it didn't work, what's wrong? Or you get different questions? Or
Yeah, we got a lot more of those questions in the past. And as an 8-person team, it's very hard to be the personal tutor for every Hopscotcher, much as we would love to do that. So we built a forum last summer for kids to go and get help. We recognize that Hopscotch is not the easiest place to get help for Hopscotch-related questions. There isn't really a good mechanism for that right now. So we designed a forum where kids can ask questions about their code, get help with debugging, look for people to collaborate on projects with them, and just sort of level up their skills. So if people write in with questions around coding, we send them to the forum. Otherwise, people write in, we get a lot of love, actually. I would say a fair amount of our email traffic every day is people just being like, thank you, I love this, this is so fun, which is really rewarding for us. And people who need their password reset and can't figure out how to do it on their own are probably the two biggest categories of emails.
Well, I was really glad that you responded to my email and we were able to do this, and we were able to hang out with us a little bit, and that's some great background information. I'm glad that we recorded this because that's you hit on a lot of things that that I had. Unless you guys have any other. So again, too, it's great that you're here too. So they kind of put a name with the face, and if these, hopefully down the road, these guys start using Hopscotch a little bit more and share their love as well.
Excellent. Well, we're really happy. I'm really happy to speak with you guys, and we're really happy that you guys are excited about Hopscotch. We'd love to be as much of a resource as we can. I know that Dean mentioned we have a curriculum that we're in the process of updating right now. We'll be releasing more tutorial videos. And this fall, I think we're also going to launch a teachers forum, because the forum is really awesome if you're 12, but if you're not 12, you're probably not going to find what you're looking for there in terms of wanting to connect with other educators who are passionate about coding and doing really interesting things. We have a whole network of educators who have figured out how to integrate Hopscotch or coding into their science class or their history class or their math class. So we're still thinking about how that's going to work and what it's going to look like, but we would love all of your input in that process. You guys, we would be building it for you, so we would love to get your help figuring out what would be most helpful for you.
I was going to ask, you said there's a team of 8. Are they all females, or do you have a mixture now?
Do you have a team of 8? Are they all females, or do you have a mixture now?
We have a mix now. We have Jocelyn and Samantha are the 2 co-founders, and then our head of product is named Christian. He is a dude. We have 2 engineers. One is a woman, one is a man. Our designer, Rodrigo, Meg, our chief of staff, and me.
That's really good. I really appreciate you sharing that part about it should be more like neutral or gender neutral, like guys and girls could code and come up and work together and be creative together and find things. That's a really good point.
It's nice to see that it started off with the females and then you allowed the males to join. It's cool.
Yes. And we're very intentional about how we represent creation in Hopscotch. Like, if you look at the kind of stuff that gets featured or the users that get featured, it's very much intentional that there's both art and games. They're both girly sounding usernames and not. It's very important that when anyone comes into the community, they see someone or something that resonates with them. I think that's a big thing for us that we work to achieve.
Awesome.
Yeah, I like the inclusiveness. Right? It's very nice to see that it's not just boys, it's not just girls.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, that's how the world works. So the more that we can create that environment in Hopscotch, and largely I think about it as like, how can we create a better version of the world and of the internet in the Hopscotch community? Like, we have the opportunity to rewrite how people engage with each other online and to teach kids a different way of behaving in an internet community, and a different idea of what technologists look like. So we take some liberty with all of those concepts in order to improve what we think those things should look like.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so
You're
much.
welcome. Thank you guys. Have fun at the conference.
I recorded it too because you hit on so many important concepts. Yeah, and then thanks Shirley for adding things in. So yeah, thanks you for your time. I know you guys are busy there. 8 is enough over there, so I appreciate you spending some of your day with us and sharing your expertise. And hopefully we'll stay in contact for sure.
Cool. Talk to you all soon and have a great time. Look forward to seeing you on Hopscotch.
Cool. I look forward to the recording, and I'll share that the next 2 days as well for sure.
Okay.
Awesome. Thanks,
Bye.
Lisa. Bye-bye. Take care.